Hi, I'm Anne-Marie with Speak Confident English, and welcome to this week's Confident English lesson, where we're focused on what you should say or what you should do when you're finished speaking. Now, I don't mean how to end a conversation. For example, if you're on the telephone and you have to get to a business meeting, or you see your neighbor at the grocery store and you really need to go home. That's not what I mean. Instead, I'm curious if this has ever happened to you. You're in a business meeting and someone asks you for your thoughts or asks you for your opinion on a topic. So you start speaking in English and then you're finished, but you don't know what to say. So maybe you do something like this. That's it. Or, I don't know what else to say. Or, I'm done. Have you ever said that in English? If you do, it's probably really uncomfortable. You feel silly because you're done speaking, but you don't know what to say or what to do. You don't know how to tell everyone that you're finished, or that you want someone else to add their opinion, or you want someone else to start talking. This has become a really common question for my students in my Fluency School course. And if they have that question, then I'm sure you have the same question. So in today's Confident English lesson, I want to share with you several ways that we can show that we're finished speaking. We can do it with our voice, and we also have some fantastic language that we can use as well. Now, knowing how to show that you're finished speaking is important for two reasons. Number one, of course, you want to look natural and confident when you're finished speaking. And when you're done, you want someone else to contribute to the conversation. And that leads to situation number two. A successful conversation includes taking turns. To take turns means you speak, then I speak. You speak, then I speak. Someone else shares their thoughts. It is a true conversation. Everyone is contributing. And we need to use language and our voice to show that it's someone else's turn, that we're inviting them to speak, that we're finished. Maybe you've been in a conversation before, in English or even your native language, and someone dominates the conversation. They do all the speaking and no one else can participate. It's super frustrating. It's annoying. And maybe you had a really good idea, something to say, but you didn't get the opportunity. We actually have a really good idiom for this in English. It comes from sports, from football. And if you imagine a game where someone gets the ball and they keep the ball, they don't share it with their team. They're running down the field. They want to score a goal, but they never share it with their teammates. They don't kick the ball or throw the ball to anyone else. They hog the ball. They keep the ball to themselves. And that's the idiom, to hog the ball. It means they keep it to themselves and they never share. We can use that for talking about conversations as well. If someone is hogging the conversation, they are dominating the conversation. They're not sharing. They're not taking turns. So today I want to share with you exactly how you can confidently end what you're saying, let everyone know that you're finished, and give others the opportunity to take their turn in the conversation. Now, the first way is quite easy, and it's something that you can practice easily on your own at home, and it's using our voice, our intonation. We can make our voice go up, which indicates we're still thinking, we're not finished with what we're saying, but then when our voice goes down, it indicates that we're finished. Just that little change in intonation tells us everything. When your intonation goes up, it tells your listeners you're not finished. You have something more to say, you're thinking, or you want to add something. But when you use your intonation toward the end of what you want to say, and your intonation goes down, it falls. It tells us that you're coming to a close, that you're finished. So if you're speaking in a business meeting, sharing an idea, you might say something like, "And that's all I have to say." Or maybe in a story, you finish your story and say, "And that was it." Or, "And I ran straight there." In all of those examples, my voice falls, and that indicates that I'm finished and that someone else can jump into the conversation. The second thing that we do in English often is in the final sentence, we really slow down our speech and we use some pauses. And again, when we do that, it indicates that we're finishing what we want to say. For example, maybe I'm telling a story and the last sentence of my story is, "And then that's when I finally realized what had happened." In that example, I slowed down my speech. I finally realized. And I used pauses. What had happened? Now you'll also notice that my voice went down. So I slowed down my speech. I used some pauses. And I used that falling intonation. All of that is used to indicate that that was the last thing that I want to say. I'm finishing my story. Now someone else can share their idea, their story, or they can make a comment, ask me a question, but I'm finished. Now, those first two examples are fantastic ways to let your listeners know that you're finished, but maybe you do that and you do it correctly, but there's still some silence at the end. Everyone's still looking at you and waiting. And maybe they're waiting for someone else to speak, but there's that weird, awkward silence. A great way to avoid that, and the third tip for how to show that you're finished speaking, is to ask a question at the end. This is my favorite way to keep a conversation going, to show that you're finished, and make sure that there is turn taking in the conversation. So here are a few ways that you can do that. Number one, you can use those tag questions. Now, tags are those words that come at the very end that look for agreement from someone or invite them to participate in the conversation. For example, "That was a great movie, don't you think?" "That was a great movie, don't you think?" But that tag question at the end indicates that you're done and you're asking someone else to comment, to agree with you or disagree with you, share their ideas, and it takes the conversation to the next person. Now, similar to using a tag question is simply asking someone else what they think. You might be sharing your opinion, you're coming to a close, you use that falling intonation to show that you're done, and then you say, "What about you? What do you think? What about you? What's your idea? What about you? How do you think we should handle this problem? What about you? Do you have any thoughts?" Just using those simple questions is a great way to finish what you're saying and then give the conversation to someone else. Now, the last strategy to show that you're finished speaking is especially useful and even important when you're speaking for several minutes. Maybe you're telling your colleagues a funny story about something that happened on your vacation. Maybe you're sharing some of your ideas in a business meeting, or maybe you're summarizing something important for your boss. In all of those examples, you might have a lot of details to share and you're speaking for a longer period of time. A really great way to help you come to a close and let everyone listening know that you're finishing your thoughts, you're almost done speaking, is to use some language to summarize what you're saying. In English, we have so many ways to do this, and here are a few examples. If you're telling a really funny story about your weekend, you might say, "Anyway, that was my weekend." Or, "Anyway, that's what happened." If you're in a business meeting and you're talking about the budget of your company, you might say something like, "So in summary, that's why I think we should increase the budget." So in summary. Another great example is, "In a nutshell, we need to fix this immediately." In a nutshell. And finally, the last example, "All in all, the meeting went really well." All in all, the meeting went really well. So now you have 4 useful strategies that you can use in daily conversations, talking to your neighbors, and in professional situations to show others that you are finished speaking, and so that you can end what you want to say naturally and with confidence. Just as a quick review, those 4 strategies are using that falling intonation, slowing down your speech, and pausing. You can use tag questions or ask questions to get someone else into the conversation. And finally, you can use language to summarize what you're saying and show that you are concluding your thoughts. Now, before we finish today, I do have a challenge question for you. This one is going to require you to listen and think about what we've learned in today's lesson. I'm going to share a sentence with you, and I'm going to say it in 2 different ways. In the comment section below the video, I want you to tell me in each example, am I finished speaking? How am I using my voice? And what is it telling you? Is it telling you that I'm not finished, that I still have something to say? Or is it telling you that I'm done? I'm closing my conversation. So here's the first example. I'm going to say the same sentence twice, and you tell me in the comment section what you think I'm doing. Number 1, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. Number 2, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. Now, in those 2 examples, which one is for ending my thoughts, closing my conversation, and which one is telling you that maybe I'm just starting my story or I want to add something else? You can share with me in the comments below. Let's try just one more. Example number 1, what a crazy day. What a crazy day. And example 2, what a crazy day. What a crazy day. Once again, in those 2 examples, in which one am I starting the conversation and I want to share more with you? And in which one am I summarizing or finishing, concluding what I want to say? Thank you so much for joining me this week. I love having you here every Wednesday. If you found this video useful, be sure to share it with your friends and colleagues on Facebook. Give it a thumbs up on YouTube, and I look forward to seeing you next week for your Confident English lesson.